Welcome back to a brand new video, and today is release week for the new set Phantasmal Flames, and for this video we'll be going over the top 10 new decks from the new set Phantasmal Flames. So with that being said, let's get into these new decks. So starting out with the new Mega Sharpedo EX here, this deck is looking really promising. It was taking quite a few wins at the City Leagues over in Japan, so it is doing really well over there. So hopefully it will do pretty well on the ranked ladder here as well. And we have two really good attacks with the Mega Sharpedo. For the one Dark Energy, we can use the Greedy Fang and do 70 base damage and then draw 2 cards, so some built-in draw support over there. As well as we do have the Hungry Jaw. For the 2 Dark Energies, we can do 120 base damage, and if this Pokemon has any damage counters on it, we can do an additional 150 damage for a combined total of 270 for just 2 Dark Energies. As well as it does have a free retreat cost, which is pretty good as well. So it has no problem going to the active spot and then quickly switching out. And then we do run a 3-2 line of the Toxel and Toxtricity there for the energy acceleration of the ability Bad Upper. Once during your turn, you can use this ability to search out your deck for a Dark type energy and attach it to one of your benched Dark type Pokemon, and then put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon for doing so. As well as we do have the 3 copies of the Monkey Dory. Since we'll be putting those damage counters on every time we use the ability of Toxtricity, we'll be building up damage counters, so we can easily move them over with our Monkey Dory. And then we can just leave only just 1 damage counter on Mega Sharpedo just to make the attack do extra damage. And then for the trainer cards, they got the 4 copies of the Carmine. So this definitely does look like a turbo deck that might want to actually go very first turn. And then they got the 3 copies of the Lily's Determination. They got the Wally's Compassion to heal up the Mega Sharpedo and then put the energy cards back into your hand. The 1 Tool Scrapper to discard 2 tool cards in play. And then they got the Binding Mochi, the 1 copy of the Binding Mochi to bump up the damage by an extra 40 more damage for the Mega Sharpedo. As well as the 1 copy of the Gravity Mountain to also help take knockouts, where you can trim off 30 HP on all Stage 2 Pokemon in play. And then for the Ace Spec, they got Legacy Energy, where you have this attached to a Pokemon, and if it's knocked out by damage, your opponent takes 1 prize cards less for this knockout. So I feel like it's here to fix up the prize map here, where you basically are mostly going to want to use the Mega Sharpedo, because when you attach 1 Legacy Energy to the Mega Sharpedo, it'll be only worth 2 prize cards, and then if you use the next one that gets knocked out, that'll be 5 prize cards. So it's almost going to feel like you have a 7 prize deck here, almost somewhat. So yeah, that's the way I see this. It's probably there to fix up the prize map. So moving on to the next deck here, we got the Mega Charizard X EX. And it is pretty interesting. This looks like it's going to completely revamp the way the Charizard, the standard Obsidian Flames Charizard EX deck is played. Like, this looks like the new way Charizard EX will be played now, with the X as a complementary attacker. Whereas 360 HP, and then you got that Inferno X for just 2 Fire Energies. We can discard any number of Fire Energies from your Pokemon in play to do 90 damage for each of them. As well as we'll get some good type coverage as well. Get Fire type coverage here. And then we already got Dark type coverage with the previous Charizard EX here. And they do run the 1 copy of the new Charmander with that free retreat cost ability. If you have no energies on it, you got a free retreat cost. And it looks like they kind of moved away a little bit from the Dusknoir line here. They only run 1 Duskull, 0 Dusclops, and 1 Dusknoir for the Cursed Blast. As well as they do run Psyduck as well. And then a 3-3 line of Dunsparce and the Dunsparce for the draw engine. And interestingly enough, they do run the Enriching Energy for extra draw support. So ideally, you want to always attach this energy card to Dunsparce or to Dunsparce right before you're going to shuffle it back into your deck. So you can just constantly reuse this Ace Spec card for free and keep drawing 4 cards every time you attach it. And then for the trainer cards, nothing too crazy. They do run the 1 copy of the New Dawn and the 1 copy of the Area Zero, which is pretty interesting. I guess to expand the bench, because there are just so many Pokemon in this deck. There's so many moving parts here. So I guess the Area Zero is there for that. And then moving on to the next deck, we got the Lopunny. There were 3 Lopunny EX decks that I found that were pretty interesting here. This one is more like just a complementary attacker where it's just sliding right into a Golden Go EX deck. They got a 1/1 line of the Baneri and the Mega Lopunny EX here. And it's basically here, I'd say, so that the Golden Go doesn't get walled out, because the Golden Go has a ability, so it's so easy to wall it out, and then you'll just be stuck with your Soul Rock as your only attacker. But now with the Lopunny EX here, you got the Gale Thrust, where you get to do 60 base damage, and if it moves from the bench to the active, you get to do an extra 170 more damage. And then we got the Spike Hopper for 160 base damage for the 2 colorless energies, and the attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So pretty interesting. It's going to be more like an accessory in the Golden Go EX deck, but still it does have other decks that it is being used in. And then everything else here is very standard. They got the Brave Bangle and Vitality Band to bump up damage a little bit. They got the 1 Fire Energy for, I guess, the new Moltres here. So yeah, they do run the 1 copy of this new Moltres from Phantasmal Flames, where you got Fighting Wings with 20 base damage, and if your opponent's active Pokemon is an EX, you get to do 90 more damage. And then everything else is very standard here. And then we got another Lopunny deck. This looks like a more dedicated Mega Lopunny EX deck here, very much relying heavily on the poison damage as well to bump up the damage on the Mega Lopunny EX, as well as seeing that we're running 4 Carmine and 2 Squawk here. Something tells me this deck always wants to take the first turn, the very first turn of the game, so that if your opponent happens to open up with 1 Pokemon and 0 benched backup, they can potentially take the Poison Donk here, set up their Brute Bonnet with the Ancient Capsule, and then put Petrun into the active for that Subjugating Chains, and just take easy turn 1 wins here. And then they do run the 4 copies of Perilous Jungle, the 2 Binding Mochis for the Mega Lopunny EX to help bump up the damage. Secret Box is really good for setting up, and for Jet Energy to help get the Petrun into the active spot. As well as Latias EX for the free retreat costs on basics. So yeah, very aggressive deck here. This is basically going to take the early game and really set up quickly. And then for the next deck, this is going to be the last variant of the Mega Lopunny. So this is going to be the 3rd way that I'm seeing it being played, where they combine this into like a Mega Box, and they got the Mega Kangaskhan EX to kind of be like a draw support with the Run Aaron, as well as a potential attacker later on in the game, maybe to use that Rapid Fire combo. And they do have the Dusclops and Dusknoir line here, 4-2-4 line. So pretty heavily dependent on those Pokemon. So the only thing I don't really like about this variant is that it's very susceptible to the Psyduck Damp ability. So it will be something to keep in mind. You might have to gust it up immediately to KO it to actually start using your Dusknoirs and stuff. Oh, never mind, actually. They do run the 1 copy of the Klefki here to mitigate for that. So yeah, never mind. They got Klefki for the Psyduck counter here, as well as the 4 Jet Energies as well to constantly switch out. So never mind. The Psyduck is not even a big issue for this deck. They got Klefki. And then for their Ace Spec, they got Prime Catcher for that double switch out. And yeah, that's about it. I do feel like this is going to be a pretty solid way to play the Mega Lopunny as well. Mega Kangaskhan EX is really good for that support of the Run Aaron ability. And yeah, moving on to the next deck here, we got the Mega Heracross EX here. So we got 280 base HP on this Mega Heracross, a little bit on the low side, seeing that Mega Kangaskhan is 300 in the basic as well. But here we got the Pansear Horn for the 2 Grass Energies, 100 base damage, and if this Pokemon is damaged by attack from your opponent's last turn, you get to do that much more damage. So kind of like a troll attack almost. I feel like it can be kind of difficult to pull it off, honestly, because why would your opponent attack your Mega Heracross unless they can take a 1-hit KO on it? But then again, this deck does run the Protective Goggles, so I wouldn't be surprised maybe if they put the Protective Goggles probably on the Mega Heracross EX to protect it as much as possible. And then we got the Mountain Ramming for the 3 Grass Energies, 170 base damage, not bad at all. And then you can discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. And another notable new card we got here from Phantasmal Flames will be the Jumbo Ice here, where we can heal 80 damage from your active Pokemon that has 3 or more energy cards attached to it. So this will be pretty easy to use because all of our attackers need 3 energies to attack here. So we can have a pretty good healing option here for just a item card that we can play right from our hand. And then we got Miracle Headset for the Ace spec and Mist Energy to protect any like auto KO moves being used on our big Mega Evolution Pokemon. So it's only one Mist Energy, so we kind of gotta be careful on which Mega we put it on here. And then moving on to the next deck, we got another variant of Mega Heracross here in a Joltik Toolbox / Golden Go EX deck. Yeah, so this deck has many attackers here. So this is going to be like the Joltik Toolbox here. You got the 3/3 line of the Golden Go EX here as an attacker. We got Iron Hands as an attacker. We got Pikachu as an attacker. And then this deck does slide in the Mega Heracross here, EX here. So I guess it kind of fits in here. But I feel like the Grass-type Galvantula is just kind of like a better answer in my opinion without the 3 prize liability. But definitely something to test out, see how it works out. Maybe it works out great. And they do have also the penny to put Heracross or... yeah, to put Heracross back into your hand. I would imagine it's for Mega Heracross because you got 3 prize cards on the board. As well as the 1 Turo as well. So definitely ways to put Pokemon back into our hand. And then they got the Precious Trolley for that ultimate setup on that turn 2. As well as the 4 Arven to search it out. The 1 Bravery Charm, the 1 Lavencia to get those Lightning Energy back from discard. Yeah, this should be pretty interesting. I wonder how it's going to do. And then moving on to the next deck, we got the Empoleon EX here, which will be Metal type. And has 320 HP, which is not too bad. Pretty good for a Stage 2. And then we got the Emperor's Stance, where we get to prevent all effects of attacks used by your opponent's Pokemon done to this Pokemon. And then for the attack, we got Iron Feather, 210 base damage, and then during your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 60 damage less from attacks. So I would say in general, this is not too bad. I would say it's pretty decent, but I didn't really see too many winning deck lists using the new Empoleon here, because I feel like your opponent will realize how hard it is to get any damage onto this Pokemon, so they'll probably like gust around you. There's other Pokemon in this deck, like the 2 Genesect, the 2 Wellspring Ogerpon, and they just might gust those up to take KOs here. And then for the Ace spec, we have the Hero's Cape to get that extra 100 more HP onto our Empoleon EX, as well as the 2 copies of Full Metal Lab, where our Metal Pokemon will take 30 damage less from attacks for our Empoleon as well. They got the 2 copies of the Lily's Determination from the recent set, Mega Evolution. And then even the 2 Water Energies for the Wellspring Ogerpon here. And then moving on to the last 2 decks, we kind of already saw the Mega Diancie and Mega Gengar of the Battle League decks. But I'm going to just put this in anyways, so I can have an even 10 decks here. And the Mega Diancie pretty much just slides right into the regular Gardevoir EX deck here, where it is a basic Pokemon, and Gardevoir easily gets energies attached to the Mega Diancie since it's Psychic type, and whatever damage counters get placed onto Diancie can just get quickly moved over with the 4 Monkey Dory in the deck. So yeah, we got the Garland Ray for the 2 Psychic energies, 120x multiplier, where you can discard up to 2 energies and do 120 damage for each of those energies, so 240 damage altogether. And then this Pokemon has an ability where you get to take 30 damage less from attacks. And then for the last deck, we got the Mega Gengar EX here, where it's basically going to be all about prize denial combined with the Marnie's Grimmsnarl EX here, where we got the Mega Gengar here for its ability to Shadow Hiding. Whenever any of your Dark-type Pokemon are knocked out by an attack, from damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon EX, the opponent takes 1 fewer prize cards for this attack. So it does have a couple of criterias where for the ability where it has to be a Dark-type Pokemon, and it has to be from a Pokemon EX, and it has to be damage from a Pokemon EX here. And then the attack is not too bad. Void Gale, 230 base damage for any 2 Dark Energies. I guess in a pinch, we can definitely use that. But we'll be mostly attacking with the Marnie's Grimmsnarl EX here. And then for the Ace spec, we got Secret Box. We got the TM Evolution. I feel like this deck absolutely wants to go second on the first turn of the game, so it can quickly evolve up those 2 benched Pokemon. We got the 4 copies of the new Lily's Determination that we got recently. And then the 2 copies of the Spike Move Gym to help you quickly find those Marnie's Grimmsnarl EXs. So yeah, there we have it. Those are all of the top 10 decks with the upcoming set, Phantasmal Flames. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.